Hey folks, thanks for joining us. Welcome, welcome, welcome. If you're in the Twitch side of things, welcome. If you're on the YouTube side of things, welcome. We've got a lot of fun stuff that we are going to do today, and we're going to look at today. Man, okay, so hold on. I'm getting ahead of myself. There's so many things that are going to be fun. I don't even know where to start, but I do know where to start because I have a schedule. Because that's how we do it. I see you folks in the Twitch chat. Thanks for joining us. Happy Friday. It is a happy Friday. So I think the first place we're going to start is I'll give you a quick little description of what's going to happen today. First of all, we got a couple special announcements that I'm going to roll off right off the top. And then we're going to dive into bringing on my good friend, Armin, who's been with us all week long building this really cool virtual game show between Notch and TouchDesigner. The fun thing today we're going to do is actually, since we've built it, on Monday in Notch, on Wednesday, we built the TouchDesigner media server. Today, what we're going to do is basically prop it up live and have it running, the final output, while me and Armin are taking your Q&A, talking about industry stuff. I can't give away too much more about what we're going to be talking about, but we're going to have some good stuff to talk about. And I really hope that we can take a lot of your questions, especially when it comes to taking these kind of techniques we talked about, expanding them in different directions based on what you're working on. Or if there's something you saw where you had a little bit of confusion, by all means, let us know so we can kind of chit-chat about it and talk through it. But the games and the arcade system will be live for everyone to kind of experiment with. We're going to have download links for you. So if you wanted to follow along at home with the project as you kind of reference what you see on screen to what you have at home, we got all that set up for you. There's a lot of stuff. So, the first place we should really start is that we do have a special announcement. The HQ has been working behind the scenes for quite a while, I will tell you on this. And for folks that are new to the HQ or just new to kind of, my domain of the interwebs, we used to have a job platform back in the day. And it used to be a nice place where people could go, companies could list their jobs, and folks could go for free and just kind of find what's out there. We had a lot of really good feedback on it, but after a while, it became really hard to manage for us, and it just became something that really needed to get an overhaul. So we kind of took it down for about 6 to 8 months, and I'm really excited because now we're relaunching it to the public again, and it's bigger and better than ever. So actually, no, you know what I realized? And the funny thing is, Armin's listening to me the whole time, just being the best-mannered individual, not saying stuff. But Armin, I just realized to share the screen, you're also going to appear on screen. So what I figure I'll do is actually, before I talk about the job board, let me just intro Armin, who is, our special guest, my good friend from Notch, head of training, product specialist. The patient man in the background. Actually, Armin, let me make sure that your mic looks like it's muted.
Yep. So there I am, the patient
there he
man
is.
in the background.
He's the patient man. Okay, good.
The good guy muted in the background. So here I am. Hello. Nice to be here. Nice to see all you in chat. I'm presuming there's even more of you just looking at the screen. So good to be here. But I'll give the mic back to Elbers to do the announcement, and then we're back to talk.
Then we're gonna dive in. Okay, so we're gonna have a lot of fun today, Armin, and we're gonna talk about a lot of funny stuff. And a lot of educational stuff. It'll be funjucation. Funjucation is like edutainment, but a little bit more fun is what I'm thinking. So let me actually bring up the screen here. Oh, interesting. I just realized, Armin, when you're typing, I can't take over.
Oh, you go on then.
Because we have a very crazy setup where we're remoted into a production box, both of us. And we're managing a lot of stuff. So anyways, what I want to show you guys all quick is the new job platform we launched. You can check it out at jobs.interactiveimmersive.io. And I'll put that link in the chat right now. And to give you even just a few quick minutes about it, which apparently, Armin, is it your birthday today?
Absolutely not. That's an inside joke. I'll tell it all about
Okay. But for folks that are checking out the job board, we're really excited to launch this because we really created a fully feature-rich platform where everyone can kind of go. If you're on the employer side of things, one of the things we really wanted to do was drop the barrier to entry. So actually posting jobs is completely free for companies. They can go on there. They can post long-term gigs, part-time gigs, And we're hoping that making the postings really free and easy to access will make it even a place where you can post contract gigs. If you got a 4-week gig, a 6-week gig, me and Armin are joking about how much we love those quick turnaround gigs, the quick little hits. So hopefully all those things will be incentivized for companies to post here. If you're on the company side as well, and even from the developer and artist side, one of the really cool things we integrated into our platform was being able to host your own professional profile if you are an HQ Pro member. So you have to be an HQ Pro member to get the profile, but everything else on the site is free. So even if you're not an HQ Pro member, don't worry. You can still go check out jobs, apply for jobs, and you can see some of the folks and talent from the HQ Pro has already been dropping in their profiles. We got Aristotle here, Dylan, Mikkel. I got myself a little sample, not for hire, but you can see what it kind of looks like. You can really show off your work, experience, education, and even put in some of your portfolio images into a nice little grid that we got there. So with that said, we are kind of launching this publicly now / on Monday. You'll probably get some emails about it if you follow us, but feel free to check it out, jobs.interactiveimmersive.io. We're really happy to launch that. And that kind of ties into a really special thing that we wanted to do, which was release a 50% discount code. So if you've liked what you've been seeing this week on our stream, you've liked the vibe of what we've been doing with TouchDesigner, what we've been doing with Notch, you're interested in the job board, maybe you want to put your profile up there so that you can get some employers seeing your work, feel free to join the HQ Pro. I'm going to put a link in the chat right now so that you can get that 50% off your first month into the HQ. So let me put that in. You click that link, good stuff will come back to you. And if you have any questions, by all means, let me know, and we're happy to answer any questions about it. So with that said, let me switch back to my good friend here. Not that you ever left. You were there the whole time. You were just being the most patient and professional human being ever.
The chat is already popping. I just got my country names. I just got 2 country names.
Oh, you got 2.
Army Marmon and
Army Marnum is really good. That's a good one.
Angie Dorsen. That's not bad too. It's good. It's like tough competition here, I'd say. It's tough competition.
And let me say, it's way better than the one I gave you, because if I check what the one I gave you was, I feel, and listen, I tried people. I went online, I found a country music name generator, I put Armin's name into it a bunch, and I think I got Armin Wayne.
It's conservative. I would have taken Armin Folsom. It's always like the prison plus the name, or money thing, like Johnny Cash, Johnny MasterCard.
Armin Cash is pretty good.
Armin Cash is not good.
But I like Army Marnum is pretty good too.
Let's roll with that. Let's roll with that.
Yeah, let me put that into. And I guess folks can't see our screen right now. Let me show them the screen real quick, because all these things are exposed. This is live. There's no.
Just to make things a little bit more interesting, not only are we going to be playing these games, we're going to be changing things as we go, because it's all live basically. So if you have an idea for name of the arcade or for the overall arcade name, because that's an option as well, we'll just drop it in the chat and we're going to make it happen.
So now, before we dive into that, I do want to take one step back, because before, let's get us on screen here and get us big. Because one thing I want to do is share the project files. I want to paste those up in the chat right now for everybody, so that if you wanted to follow along, get these project files for reference, you are more than welcome to do that. Armin, I believe you've included both the pre-compiled Notch block and the Notch project as well. Is that correct?
Yeah, both of them are there. Yes, correct.
And you were mentioning that you went through and you put in a lot of comments and kind of cleaned up the Notch project. Do you want to talk about it for a quick second?
Yeah, so I left some comments in regards to what was already spoken on Monday. So it's just a reference as to where you can find different things. Now, obviously, if you never turned on Notch before, I would advise them maybe to roll back to the Monday stream and check a couple of things. That will give you a context of things you see in the node graph. And if you still see yourself not getting along with the node graph that well, do check Notch.1 learning section and check out the essential training. That's all you need to get yourself landed right on foot to actually take that project and take it further. So with that said, everything should be there. So if you download and have a question, pop it in the chat. We definitely will address that. I have Notch running in the system as well. I can always open the UI and we can always check a couple of things if there's any questions.
And that's perfect. And the only thing I'll add is our TouchDesigner Media Circuit project is in there as well. But you should know there are 2 or 3 small things in there. First is I removed my OAuth keys from it, so your Twitch chat won't work from booting. So what you'll have to do is go into the little Twitch chat area. There's a text DAT with lots of notes inside about how you can generate your own OAuth key. Then you can put that into the custom parameter. There's lots of notes. Don't worry. It sounds like I'm saying a lot of words. It's really not a lot of words. There's a note inside of that Twitch chat area, tells you exactly what to do to activate your Twitch chat feed. And then also as well inside of the Notch output area, the only thing that may not work for you out of the gate is the Twitch chat rendering, just because that's connected to my account. I removed the link. So you just got to go to Streamlabs, set up your own account, and then grab your little URL for embedding that. But everything else is basically up and running, ready to go. And as I was mentioning to Armin, what we'll do is we'll make a nice blog post about this next week, just so that if you did miss this live, you'll know where to go to just read a quick little couple paragraphs description about the projects, where to download them, how to use them, versions of software, all that good stuff. So feel free to download it now. You can follow along, or you don't have to worry. We'll post it up online later, so it'll be up there for your reference as well. And then with that said, actually, yeah, go ahead, Armin. What's up?
No, I think we're more than ready to get to the good stuff, the actual interactive games. Oh, I'm so excited, actually. I'm really excited.
So, I mean, let's put it up on screen as let's just do it. It's going on screen.
Yep.
So let me switch over to here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my TouchDesigner into perform mode. Now, what exactly? Yeah, here we are. We're in full color now. So, a couple things for the folks. So I know you've seen on Monday and Wednesday, I had a little note that said instructions will be here soon. So now if you're looking at your Twitch stream or your YouTube stream, oh, we went black.
Is it because I'm pressing something on a server? That's likely because of that. I will not press anything on a server. From now on, I'm not touching the server.
Oh yeah, interesting. If I press something on the server, it also goes insane.
Do not touch the server.
Okay, so we're not going to touch the server. Okay, cool. That's fine. That's a fair game. Fair game. Don't touch the server. I think that's, that if you were going to get a rule tattooed on you, it's don't touch the server.
T-shirt idea right there. Do not touch the server.
Idea, don't touch the server.
Responsibly.
So, the way this is going to work is you'll see instructions at the bottom. It shows you how to change between the arcades using the command sign, which is our exclamation mark, arcade 1, 2, 3. You can also see how to add tic-tac-toe elements to the board. Now, the way most of these games work, and I'll say this before you start just slamming commands into
too late. Everybody's slamming.
Feel free to slam, like banana slamma. You know what I'm talking about? But I'll explain it while you're banana slamma-ing. Especially for the tic-tac-toe and for the quiz, it's all based on a 10-second timer vote count. So if, for example, you wanted to put an O or an X into the third position there, up on the little tic-tac-toe area, what you would do is you just keep voting for your position. So you put tick 3, everyone keeps putting tick 3 in there. After 10 seconds, whichever position has the most amount of votes, that's the position that the piece goes in. And it basically just bounces back and forth between X's and O's. So, if you want to pick a team and be on Team X or Team O, just time yourself accordingly. Otherwise, just have fun, going to town trying to do it. Similar with the quiz, it's all based on that same voting. So we're going to see a question come up when we get there. You'll have a vote 1 and a vote 2 option, which is going to be correlated to either true or false. And then in that 10-second countdown, you essentially have that amount of time to vote for whichever option you want. And whoever wins gets that kind of piece there. So with that said...
A good thing to mention probably is that when votes to change the game is accumulating, you will notice that the color of a LED bars with the true chat generator is slowly shifting to something else. And that's a telltale that you're about to be dropped out from that very game you're playing.
Yeah. So don't get too committed. It may the what do you call it? The euphoria might be fleeting if you get really into a game. So, or maybe you have to vote to try and keep it there. That's kind of on you. But so the one exception to this voting rule and I wanted to create I wanted to go Joker from the Dark Knight a little bit. I wanted to put a little bit of chaos in this system. So what I did is for the Maze game, that one has no voting. So every command acts on the game itself. So anyone doing, command up or exclamation point down or exclamation point left or right, that's going to influence the ball. And I think it's going to become crazy if everyone's trying to make that ball get into the right place. So we'll get there eventually. Now, Armin had also mentioned a good thing that we should let people know is if you're in the Twitch chat, and also I should mention this only works from the Twitch chat. If you're in the YouTube chat watching, welcome. Thanks for joining us.
We have a winner, by the way.
Oh, yo, somebody won tic-tac-toe.
Well
what?
Done. Well done.
Okay, let me be real. Done. Did you think somebody was going to win any of the games this fast?
No, actually, no. This is interesting. How did? I'm positively surprised. Oh, and we just had our first.
And
Switch
we just
as well.
we just switched over to arcade. I think this is arcade 2, right? Or is this arcade 1? This is arcade 1, I think.
Is it? I think it's.
Is it 2?
I think it's maybe 2, and that's the Children of the Null as we know it.
This is the Children of the Null as we know it. So this one is funny because if you saw some of the project files, this one is all using like bullet physics and TouchDesigner. So as you're using any of those commands, you're essentially adding velocity in that direction. And every time you hit a wall or something, that game over body falls out of the sky. So
yeah, be careful, guys.
You guys got to get off the wall. You got to command down a little bit,
Guys,
and this one,
you're gonna die.
If you thought tic-tac-toe was easy, this one's going to be the most challenging because this is just pure chaos. There you go. Now you're off the wall a little bit. My God, we haven't even started talking about the questions and answers and stuff that we.
Dude, I just can't. It's so exciting. I'm just all mesmerized by this now.
It is pretty fun.
There's the third game. I guess you're referring to the third game that we haven't seen just yet, which is the questions and answers, correct?
Yeah, the little quiz show.
So, community, if you all in unison now vote for the arcade one, we can see the arcade one. Then we know how all 3 looks, and then let the havoc begin and.
And then we'll start doing our little Q&A. We've got a bunch of fun questions that we prepped that we were going to talk about, but also in the chat, anyone who's got questions. I'm going to put, you know what, and Armin, we should tell them a little bit about the Easter eggs.
Oh, there's Easter eggs, ladies and gentlemen.
There are secret commands that we haven't told you we haven't written down on the instructions.
Do you want the honors of announcing first, Glitch? So, first... I burned it. Yes, yeah. So there are Easter eggs. Guys, if you try to put exclamation mark glitch, let's see what happens.
Yeah, somebody put exclamation mark glitch. This is one of the first ones. This gives us a crazy glitch effect over the whole screen. And so I would say this is the...
Oh, shit. They found...
they found that.
Dude, that's
so
too fast.
we have to do the thing.
Yeah, we have to do the thing. Silly hats.
Yo, how did they find the silly hats? No, I don't. I feel like no. You know what? I maybe I didn't parse it. Maybe I didn't parse it right.
They just did type in my name straight away for whatever the reason.
Oh, they did. Oh my God, they got that one too. Somebody got.
Damn, that was too fast. That
Okay.
should have been like in the middle of the game. You are too good, guys.
I feel like we're getting pwned by the chat here. So
yeah,
that was So we had a couple of. We got a couple of we got Easter eggs. That's the word I'm looking. We got Easter eggs. So you've already found one of them. Glitch was the one we showed you.
Yeah, and you found
there are a couple more effects like that hidden around there.
Yep.
We'll talk about what those are. You found the one which was we both found a silly hat, and if you said command sign with either of our names,
silly hat is happening straight away.
I didn't even know if we were going to get to the silly hats. I'm pretty excited though.
Yeah, so. I was sure that's never going to happen, but here we are. Silly hats all the way from the very beginning.
So there are a lot more different commands, Easter eggs. And I'm trying to think what we can say and what we couldn't say. So should we say about the P word?
Yes. I'll let you lead on this one because I ruined the glitch. So just go on.
I'm worried. Okay, so let me just say this. So Notch has been really generous, and they have put a couple of. Do you want to say specifically what it is, and then I'll keep going? I don't want to say the wrong words.
Tokens of appreciation.
Tokens of appreciation. So Notch has put a couple of token of appreciations into the stream, so there could be people that win some tokens of appreciation from Notch.
Oh, look! No way! Somebody already. Oh, dude, that was fast.
Okay, so there's prizes, and using that command. Prize brings a QR code. Now you got to go to this QR code to get your prizes.
Whoever claims it first is the actual winner. So guys,
yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's a race, and then let us know in the chat
let us know what you
who's
win,
getting it.
because we don't even know what you win. It's like generally randomly generated prize.
Yeah, 100%. That's not. Oh, okay, yeah, we gotta. So to be honest, I don't even know how to use QR codes, but I guess we got some folks who just got rickrolled.
Oh, what? No, seriously, somebody got rickrolled? Oh, that's such a shame.
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
Let's just say there are prizes, but they're not going to be that easy to get.
Yeah.
Listen, folks, does this look like our first rodeo? Me and Armin have seen some things in the battlefield.
Do you actually think that the passcode will be exclamation mark prize?
Too easy. Okay.
Try harder.
We'll be dropping hints over the course of the stream on how to get this prize.
But it's definitely not exclamation mark prize.
Definitely not exclamation mark prize.
Yeah.
Unless you guys want to get rickrolled. If you guys like getting rickrolled, keep scanning that QR code. Okay, so man, this is crazy. This is like high adrenaline.
Yeah, it's
we are so much deeper than I thought we would be by now.
Yeah, it's all over the place in the best way possible, to be honest.
Yeah.
Although I have to stress the fact that we haven't seen the third game just yet.
We haven't seen third game just yet, so that's something that Twitch chat can be going towards. Now, in the meantime, because we do have like serious stuff to talk about too. Because one of the questions I had for you, and listen, chat, I know you're all going crazy with questions, not even questions, sorry. You're all going crazy with the commands and like playing the game. Straight up, I don't think you guys are going to win this. I would wager money that you guys aren't going to win this maze game. I can make it easier later, but I don't think you're going to win. But if you have any Q&A, any questions about the whole process that we've had this week, because today is our last day, so after today, kind of we're not going to be, we're done here. This is the final hurrah of our 3-day virtual event. So if you have any questions about any part of the process, anything you saw on Monday, anything you saw on Wednesday, anything you're seeing today, anything about the concepts, by all means, let us know in the chat, and me and Armin will discuss it and give you the most silly-hatted but professional and educated answer we can.
Yep.
So with that said, I had a couple questions that I wrote down. Oh, we already got a question in. Okay. So we've got a question from what looks like Luke, X Inc. Luke. You're using TouchDesigner as the media server to host the Notch block? Yes, that is correct. If you grab, what I'm going to do is as people are joining, I'm just going to keep putting that download link for grabbing the project files.
So while you do this, I'm just going to mention that not only we're using this as a media server, we are actually using TouchDesigner as a logics tool. So all of these games and all of the logics of running chat to trigger the games is actually done in Touch. So Notch is responsible for making things look pretty and trigger animations, and Touch is responsible for making sure that there's logics and all these things are actually working. So there's this very nice handshake of the system that is probably one of the best, if not the best, in the world in logics, and a tool that produces great visuals in no time, working together hand in hand to produce this havoc of Children of a Null arcade game.
We did have a question. Where is the reflection of my fireplace? So it's on a thermostat. So what happens is when it gets really warm, it like turns itself off. Don't worry, it'll come back soon. But yeah, so here's my first question, Armin, to you.
Yes.
If you had a lot more time, where are some areas that you would focus on developing further in your side of the project, on the Notch side, and then I can answer a little bit more on the TouchDesigner side?
Oh, so I probably would add a little bit more elaborate winning and losing sequences. I think there's so much more to explore there. Plus, I would add small details. I would say that delivering a project up to 90% is relatively fast, but carving out those last 10% of something really nice and exclusive, well, that's exactly what takes days on end. So I managed to nail this in 2 days. But if I had 2 more days or 3 more days, I would definitely add small details, more texturing. I would spend more time baking things, so maybe it would look a little bit more elaborate because, well, basically I would bake longer. As you know, Patracer sort of produces the better results the longer you stay with it. So I would just make it more elaborate, basically. All things, small details all around. Elbers, what would you do?
So this is interesting because, like you were mentioning just before this, the TouchDesigner project is doing a lot of different things. So, on the one hand, we've got the whole logic side of it, just getting connected to Twitch chat, pulling that in, parsing commands, doing that input processing. I think on that side of things, something I didn't really have time to do in the quick kind of turnaround that we did was building protections. And this is something I highly recommend for anyone who's working with APIs and, external data sources that you don't control, is to have some kind of protections. What happens if somebody just starts spamming the same command over and over again to cheat? Like, is there a way that you want to put in some username checking along with the commands to throttle that a little bit from somebody taking advantage of it? Oh, so we got to the quiz.
We are in the quiz.
We got to the quiz. Good job. Good job, everybody. Good job, everybody. And let me tell you, actually, hold on a second.
Take your time.
I just realized they can't see the words true or false. Hold on. Let me, this is going to be one of those quick fix. I was changing the color schemes last night.
So not only is a quick fix, you actually will be able to see that this is running live. This is literally a Touch Designer patch.
This is live. As live can be.
Back to the initial statement, if you have better names for arcades, well, by all means, let us know. We are more than happy to set them in, basically. We requested some cool rap names for Elbers, some elaborate country names for me, and anything else goes. We had different characters throughout the streams Monday and Wednesday. So we had the Magnum PI, we had Hoff, we had Mr. T. All of those were part of the names. If you want to bring those back, you're more than welcome. If you want to offer something new, please do.
Why are my texts not reading here?
XLNC Luke, yes, they are actually
they're available now. They're available. So Jinx,
If you just joined in,
I'll post the link again for you.
Yeah, just hold a moment. You'll get the link.
It should be in the chat right there.
Yep, I see it as well.
Okay, hold on, let me see. Why is my? This is a common. All the developers out there know that thing where something's working and then you go to run it and it's like no worky. It brokey. So let me see why it's doing that.
You know what? I'm going to take off the hat and the community will let me know if I made a mistake of taking it off.
I'm trapped in my hat, I realized. Somehow it got stuck in my... Oh, no, I'm out. Okay, cool. Because it's getting really warm in this hat.
Yeah, look at that. I even have a hat mark.
Yeah, you got the hat mark and everything. Hold on a second, folks. Let's see here. True, false, text. You know what? I'm just going to move it over for now. Do vote 1 here. And this is a funny thing I always say is that all projects become miserable after they launch because any fix you make after launch is always messy. There's never a clean post-launch fix to anything I've ever seen in my life. Okay, there we go. Now you're going to see the trues and false. So now you'll be able to actually play this game.
All right, off we go.
Okay, let's boot her back up. Get and perform. Okay. Oh, did it do it?
Yep.
There it is. Okay, cool.
There we are.
So that's okay. So the first part was I would build some defenses against crazy external inputs. The second part would be more time for testing, and I think this is a perfect example of that because complex logic systems, external data sources, you really can never do enough testing. Like just getting in there, trying to actually purposefully break it. Like sometimes I see when people go into test systems like this, they're very delicate. They're pretending they're the ideal user and they're like timing their messages well and, oh, it's working perfectly. But no, you should actually try and just smash the keyboard. You should try and spam commands. You should try and do things that you think would purposefully break it just so that then you could see, does it break? Yes or no? Can I build some defenses? Yes or no?
Or you can be just very deceptive for the enemy command. So for instance, you just put a glitch so they're disturbed.
Yeah, they're never going to win the one that requires reading.
Yeah.
But also, I would say that these are pretty tricky. There's a lot of tricky questions in here. That when I was reading through the questions to true or false, I was like, I don't know most of these.
Let me give you a hint on another possible way to deceive your enemy.
Yeah.
It's Friday related. Good time.
It's Friday.
Related. Yeah.
Yeah, good time. What do adults do on
What do adults do on Friday?
On a Friday?
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a hint for another possible command in there. So I think that's where I would kind of focus my fire if I had more time to build this. Obviously, making the games look prettier is a nice thing too, but a lot of the times you can get away with games and stuff, or even just like content being, I think, 10 or 20% less beautiful if you know that the back-end system running this is like 100% rock solid and can't like mess up. I think that's a good thing for me. Oh,
damn it. Okay. Yeah.
I think we're trapped in these hats for the rest of the stream. This is my camping hat, by the way. I'm going camping this weekend.
This is my working hat. Santa's Flight School, it says.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was my first question. Folks in the chat, okay, hold on. I feel like the chat's flying by because of the command, so I'm going to keep posting the download links for the projects for people that keep joining.
Yeah, you do that, because we are actually having a good pace there. There's a lot of people playing games.
Feel free to check out that link. That's where you can find it. Oh, and Rajat saying, a bug I found in this game, the chat makes it impossible to repeat the same command, so I couldn't use vote 1 for back-to-back questions. Not that I know the answers.
Good point. This is fixable. I'll let Elbers... yep, you go.
So this is, and I say Armin's says it's fixable. It's fixable, but this is also a really good thing that I think I should have added to the if I had more time. Reading API documentation is one of the most important things you can do, because to be real, I didn't. So we're like, oh, let's make all these games. You know, you can do all these things, and then it was actually just like a little while ago that we're like, oh yeah, we can't like use the same command. So the workaround is, because the way we're parsing, you can embed the command in a sentence. So as long as you're typing the command plus like anything else, the command will still go through. So you don't have to type an empty message with just the command. You can type in like hello exclamation vote 1. Any of those kind of things work. And reading the API documentation would have been a mighty good thing to do. Because I think, to your point, Rajat, you can't literally send the exact same message. And as you go on to different Twitch channels, you know, if you're working with bigger and bigger companies that have big Twitch channels, they're going to have different modes that their chat is set to that could make it even slower. So those are good things just to be aware of. So with that said, here's another question for you, Armin.
Should, yeah.
What was the hardest part of this process for you, and what was the easiest part of this process for you?
Well, I'll start with the easiest. Easiest was to get the things started, because I used a template that is already available in Notch. So basically, the main layout, the screen, the room was already there. So if you open up, we are glitching like mad.
Yeah.
So if you open Notch, there's always a hello page, and in a hello page, there's a bracket called samples. So under the samples, there's VR, Virtual Production Simple Studio Gray Box. That's exactly what we see here. So I just took a sample that Notch ships as a thing. I added some textures, I added some lights, and here we are. We have this game show. The hardest thing here was probably coming up with the little logics that I had to come up with, because I wrote a couple of things that allows you to have the game over sequence. And it had to sort of play the animation that it has to play. And once it's done, set itself back to the 0 state and then disappear from the screen. Now, I think in TouchDesigner, that would be absolutely 100% easy task. In Notch, since I'm more used to design than building logics, I actually had to spend a little minute thinking like, so if I set this modifier to do that, then I need another modifier to do the other statement, so on and so forth. So,
interesting.
I think it just rolls back to the fact that I consider myself more of a designer than a developer. So, of course, I find it a little bit more challenging.
Yeah.
But it wasn't crazy. You guys can open the file. You're going to see the logics that was written there. By the way, Notch Ryan, or Ryan Notch, he's probably here in the chat. He actually helped me out with that. You're going to see it's pretty easy. But it's just wrapping your head around different things for different people. It's either easy or hard. So for me, design is something I'm super comfortable with. It's the logics that took me a moment.
So that's really interesting. So before I answer my part of the question, which is very funnily the exact opposite of what you said, there was somebody in the chat, security_live, saying we should develop a Twitch extension that puts buttons on screen. There probably already might be one. I know there's Twitch extensions that give you heat maps of where people are clicking on screen. I know a good friend of mine, Hal Lovemelt, was working on building some Twitch experiences that take advantage of that. I think it's just called, if you just do a web search for Twitch extension heat map, you probably will find it. But there are a lot, like Twitch is really becoming this big interactive platform. So you may very well find tons of extensions that allow you to do these kind of extra fun things on Twitch. And we've got a question. Is it a coincidence that nobody got any questions right yet? Or does it need a specific amount of votes to answer? So the way it works is the questions, so it counts the votes over those 10 seconds. So the right answer has to have more votes than the wrong answer. So even if one person voted the right answer, if like 3 people voted for the wrong one, then it still like doesn't count as a win. And that's going to get you a game over. So
I remember making a promise to a chat participant security 1, and I said I have a hammer, and I will show it to you later. Do you guys want to see my hammer? Because I do have a hammer. I am in Norway. This is Scandinavia. Everybody has a hammer.
Really? Is that like a thing?
Of course. So this is
like
my hammer.
On hand? Everyone's got a hammer?
This is my hammer. I hold court sessions. Notch court.
Yeah, okay. Oh, whoa, we won something.
This is, we have a win. That's great.
Too easy.
This is not a gavel, this is a hammer. Small hammer, I'll give you. Hammer nonetheless.
Yeah.
By the way, it says Notch as well. Ha!
Oh, that's nice. I like that.
Yeah, I hold core sessions in trainings, or at least I used to when we were traveling a little bit more.
Yes, I remember you brought that session to the workshop where because I learned. Hey, listen, I learned from Armin all the Notch things that I know. So
likewise with Elbers, all the.
I remember the gavel. I remember that.
Yeah, it's easier to keep people focused. Like order.
You 100% used it on me too. I remember because I wouldn't shut up in the back, and then you're like, Elbers, shut up, and you're like hitting the hammer. I remember that.
Actually, this is a great opportunity to mention the fact that the things that Elbers teaches live and what I teach live, it's now translated in. Oh damn! One moment.
Oh, you took your hat off. I don't know why you did. I think you just got to keep the hat on.
It's practically useless to take it off by now.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, so anyways, all these things that we used to do live before the crazy lockdowns of the 2020, they're all online actually. So Elbers has like a ton of different courses with different subjects, and Notch has quite a few courses regarding the learning curve. So basically you have a starters course, you have intermediate courses, and there's even more coming. And if you don't find specifics you're looking for in courses, we have a Notch VFX YouTube channel. There's a lot of short tutorials there, so check out those. It's gonna be handy. So some of them are done by me, some of them are done by other team members of Notch, and some actually done by community members like Elbers. So if he does something related to Notch, we actually have a playlist called Community, and you just go straight there, so you can find everything in our YouTube.
You're going to make me blush, bro. You're going to make me blush. So I'm putting those links in the chat. If you want to check out the HQ Pro, you can get 50% off your first month. I put that link in the chat, which is iihq.tv/50. I'm also putting the notch.1/learn. Oh, Lady Cox real-time beat me to it. There it is in the chat. That's where you can get a lot of great Notch training going on. And because the 2 courses I took with you in person are the ones that are online now, which is the Essential and the Intermediate.
So Essential focuses on the logics of the tool and how do you get around it. Basically, you take that, and if you're a touch user, you just want to know the ins and outs and basically take Notch Design and be able to use it. If Notch Designer builds something for you, well, you'll be able straight after that course. If you are keen to use Notch as a motion graphics tool and you want to push further, there's where Intermediate course comes in, because there it talks about smoke simulations, cloners, particle simulations, deformations of the meshes via deformers, a ton of other things as well. So I would encourage to check both. So if you have time, just start with the essentials and progress to the rest.
So I'll answer the question that we kind of... Oh, hold on. Is it... We got a question here about the Notch training, I believe, which is the Intermediate free for builder learner purchasers?
That is a very valid question that I have no answer for at a given moment, because I just do not know. But there is Lady Cox.
We've got folks in the chat.
We have folks. They will let us know. I know it's definitely free for people who are subscribers to base and pro subscriptions. But I'm sure we're gonna know about the learning subscriptions.
Oh my God!
Dude, how
did they guess it?
Jesus, without any.
VJ Dr. Mojo.
Shit, I thought that we were gonna tease this a whole
night.
Yeah,
we were gonna like tease like who's our favorite 80s character that me and our. So okay, so hold on. So VJ Dr. Mojo, you just won a prize. Armin, do you want to tell them what the prize is? You want to take it?
My friend, you just won yourself a learning dongle with the golden keyring. Now, golden keyring is an exceptionally hard to get keyring.
And I'll prove it. I don't have one.
there's just but couple of persons who won Notch competitions that actually has it, and a couple of exclusive friends and partners that we deemed worthy of carrying such in a pocket. You, my friend, now have one too. So please email me with the armin@notch.one. Let's talk about the details. Let's get this thing in your mailbox and in your computer.
And VJ Dr. Mojo, if you have any trouble with that, just send me a direct message on Twitch and I can connect you with Armin and the Notch team to make sure you get that fun little prize. So congrats, my friend.
How on earth?
How did they get it? Yo,
how did you come up with the idea?
VJ Dr. Mojo deserves that. Just came out of nowhere. Boom.
It's
at Alf.
Well done. Well done.
Now you know what I realized. The way I programmed it, that message is never going to go away. So let me go because we added these. This was like some real last minute good times that we added. So let me actually just go get that off screen real quick.
With that mentioned, we have a couple of more scenes that we can switch through, which is the chat corner and one more. So at some point we might as well try those out, but let's carry on playing. Wow, I am blown away by this victory.
That was like an out of left field kung fu like roundhouse kick to my head.
I beg you, tell the story of you coming up with the idea to write exclamation mark Alf. Like how? Why?
Just a guess. Wow, damn. Deserved victory on that one.
Man, buy a lottery ticket, man.
Yeah, buy serious. Invest in Bitcoin. Like, what should we buy or sell? Like, what are we doing? So we do have a question. Is there any more gold key rings to win?
So if we get a really good question right there, I am sure we can arrange one more, but it has to surprise us in the most positive manner. Something that would take us a minute to think about and answer, and then we can talk about. I like that.
I like that. Yeah. So now that question I asked you like 15 minutes ago, let me like answer my side of it, which was, what was the hardest part of this for me and what was the easiest? Because I think to your point, it was the exact inverse for me. So for example, the easiest part of this for me, getting logic set up, getting Twitch chat piped into TouchDesigner, parsing out commands. That stuff was so easy. Like even before, because for folks in the chat, for your reference, you know, just to tell you how like real time even our build process was, we only added all of the Easter egg commands half an hour before the stream started, right? Like it was like 11:30. We got sound check, we did all that stuff, and we're like, okay, let's add all the commands and triggers and logic for doing silly hats and Alf and all that good stuff. So that kind of stuff for me was like really comfortable, especially in TouchDesigner. And what was the really hard part was actually making the mini games that go into the screen, because TouchDesigner has so much ability for logic, but when it comes to certain aspects, like if you're building games, I think is a good example, and this was like a really good example here, or I can't think of anything off the top of my head other than like games at the moment, but there's some things where if you're making them, you kind of have to start from scratch. And what you'll see is if you look in those reference projects, you know, the logic behind Maze, the logic behind Tic-Tac-Toe, behind the quiz show, they're very much just made from scratch. And it's not that it's incredibly difficult, because what you'll see in a lot of those is that look straightforward, systems seem easy, but it's just the fact that it takes a little bit of time because you have to wrap your head around, you know, what are the exact rules of a tic-tac-toe game that I need to develop, and how do I determine a win? You know, like all those kind of things are things we had to go through.
Man, well done. I have to say, I can imagine that there was quite a bit of work to actually make this happen. Plus to come up with a system so it would be a unique commands for the Twitch chat to actually be able to, well, take in information.
Yeah, and it worked out really well. And I actually do a shout out to my good friend Aristotle Rufanis. If you're up in the chat, say hello. He did come in and just give me a quick hand bank of those, just because unfortunately I have so much stuff to do on a day-to-day that I was like, oh man, Aristotle, can you like make a couple of these games for me? And he rose up and did it. Yeah, exclamation mark Aristotle for sure. That's a good one.
100%.
And actually, so we got two questions coming in. Well, actually, one question, one comment. And VJ Dr. Mojo says, I was actually late to the Twitch because I was trading crypto. Yo, let us know your trades, because
how do we invest in you? How do we follow you?
We'll be making some follow because you got that Alf magic.
I'm still blown away. Like I was sure that we're gonna tease it all night long.
I thought we were gonna do that for everything, but like almost all of our tricks are already gone.
Amazing.
We do have a couple tricks that aren't gone yet, I think. But so here's a good question. Here's a good question from Adri Debe. I'm sorry if I say your name wrong. Please let me know how to say it right in the chat, by all means.
Yeah, that's a good point. Apologies straight away if the names or the handles are mispronounced. I am coming here as a guest, so Elbrus knows quite a few of you already very well. So please don't take it personally if I do not manage to say it right.
And in our defense, me and Armin both have like really extravagant names that are... So we feel the sympathy. Like, we've had people call us the wrong thing for most of our lives also. So just let us know. If we say it wrong, just hit us with a quick correction. We got your back. But here is the question. I was wondering what part of this project would absolutely not be possible only using TouchDesigner. So I would like to hear your opinion before I give my opinion.
Super fancy looking graphics?
True. Okay. Possible. Yeah.
Well, I did end up using path tracing for some light baking. So I presume TouchDesigner doesn't do path tracing. So that would definitely be an impossible thing in Touch. Is that correct?
Unless you're like super good at GLSL and you basically make your own path tracer. But at that point, you're basically making, and I always say this, I consider there's like the Touch plus GLSL and Touch without GLSL. Because learning GLSL gives you a lot of potential, but then there's a couple of like really GLSL gurus who can just basically do anything. But I don't know if I consider that,
to that point,
like common ground of like people making stuff.
Let's just be real. TouchDesigner is an amazing tool. I presume if you're good enough, you can probably build whatever you want in whatever the level you want. So I'd say it's probably you could do it all in Touch, but would it make sense to do it all in Touch? And I would like to sit down and time it. That's the magic question.
That's the magic question. And I think even Control D Chaos mentioned it here, which was the spare 8 hours you gain by building it in Notch. I mean, that's like the funny way of saying it, right? Like at a certain point, anything is really possible in TouchDesigner, but it just becomes a case of what are the realities of your working environment, Because like we said, I only had 2 days to do this. So if I also needed to integrate path tracing, if I also needed to like get all this like really beautiful rendering set up, if I also needed to build like a giant scene and then optimize the geometry, like I'd be working on this for weeks. No lie, right? Like it would take me forever. And one of the beautiful things I found about Notch is how quickly you can get to that beautiful content state, because it really is a content creation tool. And when it's paired with something like TouchDesigner that is this really like media server, interactive, I/O, like all that good stuff that we know and love TouchDesigner for, then it makes a really powerful combo, which in my mind, and I would say, I don't want to go off like too much of a tangent, but I always see this idea of like, oh well, Notch is really expensive. Okay, so hold on. Geez, I'm trying to find a way to say it without going on the whole tangent. You probably heard my tangent on the Notch showcast where I like talk about the history and arcs of like.
I actually like
the developers.
I have a tangent of my own that I want to bring up, but I'll let you go first.
Okay, I'm gonna do the quick tangent, then you can do your tangent. So my quick tangent is something a lot of people don't realize is as you get farther and farther into your career, time goes from being something you're willing to spend a ton of to do something on to something that you're trying to optimize as much as possible. Because at the beginning of the career, time is not your most valuable asset. If a gig makes you work 20 hours a day to get it done, it's still probably worth it at the beginning of your career. Once you start getting to like that intermediate part of your career and into the more advanced projects that you're working on, all of a sudden, if you are spending 20 hours a day working on projects, you are losing out the time to do other things and probably just like killing yourself over the years. So what I always say is at the beginning of your career, yeah, you know what? If you're like some of these tools, even Touch Pro licenses or getting like other tools in the mix, oh yeah, any tool can be really expensive at the beginning of the career because money is the most important thing to you. You need to save that money, make sure you've got like payroll, make sure you're able to buy the equipment you need to buy. And if you have to spend all the time in the world to do it, cool. You get later into your career, mid-career, late career, and you're like, you know what? Actually, I would rather spend money to gain back time. And once you start to think about that idea of like, you know what? I'm an intermediate now. I've been doing this for 2 or 3 years, doing it for a year or two. All of a sudden, I'm trying to gain back time. Then all of a sudden, Notch is a no-brainer. It is such a time saver when it comes to real-time content creation that then can be integrated into a package like TouchDesigner. all of a sudden it's like, oh my God, because the reality is like, even if I have to pay, like we're talking to some people now, we're like, oh yeah, you know what, we're going to have to get the unlimited resolution perpetual playback license. And they asked me, it's like, oh yeah, you know what, it's 4,500 British pounds. Is it worth it? And I literally said to them, if you don't buy this, I'm going to charge you more for my time to do what that would have done for us. And they're like, oh, okay, cool, done. Like that's really, I know it sounds like a very businessy situation, but that's really what it comes down to. So sorry, that was my tangent. I know it got real long. Before we hit your tangent,
yep.
No, you give me your tangent, then I'm going to catch up on Twitch chat questions.
Yeah, you do that, and I'll do my tangent. My tangent is about actually about the same thing, about the time. So I was always really jealous of musicians being able to be creative on the spot. So basically, if you play guitar, you take a guitar, you strum the chords, you find the riff or the groove, and you hammer it till it's perfect. You can spend hours. You can spend hours perfecting it, but you don't have to wait hours to hear it, which is one thing that we always missed as a community, as motion graphers, until real-time tools came about, or came about to a point where it's actually valid to use a real-time tool to deliver your graphics. So this is my journey, for instance, in finding Notch. So at some point in my career, I decided that I spent too much time bluntly staring at the screen, expecting that things will come out the way I expected it, just by looking at the proxy and holding fingers crossed. And I started to look for things, and then I found Notch, and I thought, oh God, it's so easy. Like, I do things and I refine them till the last moment when it has to go on screen, instead of doing something for 15 minutes and waiting for an hour to see the result. So that's exactly what I really appreciate. And that's my tangent about the time there, or adding to your tangent.
Yeah, time is a valuable thing that we often take for granted, I think. It's the most valuable asset in your whole existence is time.
Admittedly, you wouldn't notice that, or you wouldn't think about that when you just start.
No, and because you can't. When you start, time is the thing you throw at the wall. It's the spaghetti you throw at the wall.
Yeah, and then at some point, you go through this whole manual thing of learning things in and out and how they go, and the fact that you have to repeat it, or that you're actually losing time doing those, becomes really painful. So that's exactly what Elbers was talking about. He knows that he can. Should he actually invest extra 2 days in doing this? Absolutely not. If there's an easier way, if there's a better way to achieve it faster, well. So what is popping in chat?
Okay, here we go. So we had what's the wrong ways of pronouncing Elbers, which was Elvis, Elbours, Elbruz, Elbors. I mean, technically, it's a long story. I'm not even tangent this one. Technically, Elbers is a mispronunciation of the actual Farsi name anyway. So by default, I'm a mispronunciation. But that's all good. We're all good over that. So we did have a good question here from Rajat, who was asking, would it be better to create a game in something like Unity if you wanted more complex interaction than share textures using Spout? That absolutely could be a reality, and I think that's why Touch and Notch is so powerful, because then with Notch, you create environments and layouts and kind of these content elements. TouchDesigner becomes your control platform and your almost connector that lets you embed anything else into it. So by all means, actually building games in Unity could be a much, much, much better solution. And then you just either run them in the background and spout them over, run them on a separate computer, NDI them over. And then in Touch, it's just easy to kind of embed that right into the Notch scene.
To that point, I would love to see this happening. Let's say a gaming engine would be used for creating a game, and a Notch to be used for making the designs of facilitating all that, and then Touch to do the interactions. That would be one insane project that I would love to somehow control over the chat, or whatever the other means that people who make it would allow us to use. That would be insane.
So we have another good question here. This one's for you, Armin. It's could you make a ragdoll with one of the Mixamo models in Notch by making the skeleton be affected by world forces?
Yes. Let's define the world forces, though. What would you use to produce those world forces? If, let's say, you use some kind of a cloner system, you could obviously use fall-offs. The short answer here, because I don't know the premises, there could be many things here happening.
I think, they're thinking of, those silly games you see where, the character gets hit and they kind of just like they kind of like go, that kind of ragdoll physics.
So yeah, so there's two ways to get about that. I would probably use something like fall-offs if I'm using some deformers or let's say cloners, but for general interaction there's triggering. So there's trigger boxes. Let me just see what's the actual name of the node that would be very handy here, and I'm sure that there's documentation at the very minimum on that. I think it's called hotboxes. Let me double check. So basically, I'll just give a little rundown on how it's set up. So you have a node that allows you to define the area of influence, and then it allows you to define what is the trigger. So the trigger would be the mesh from Mixamo, and the area of influence would be something that you can actually slide over it, in it, or expand towards it. So once you set that up, you can send all this little system to a modifier called extractor. And from extractor, you can take any commands. If this thing happened, if these two things collided, do this or do that. So that would allow you to then either, let's say, swap out animation. So if the ragdoll is just standing like this and then something happens and you need it to fall down, well, you just trigger another FBX animation, so on and so forth. So let me just see on the name of that node. 1 second.
And while you're doing that, I'm going to keep reading up on the Twitch chat. We got a funny request. I wish the game over bodies would just keep piling up.
Oh, that's so cruel.
I might cover the screen with the amount of game overs I'm seeing going on, We've got a good quote from Super Duper Bill, who took my quote, "Time is the spaghetti you throw at the wall." I like that one. We've got El Brew. I like that. El Brew is a good one. Oh, and a follow-up. Thanks for the great answer. I get it, and this stream was an eye-opener in regard to Notch. I was only wondering about the actual technical possibility of running it only in TouchDesigner. You could. I just think you're going to be, like we said, it'll take a lot more time to get the same level of like fidelity that you would get out of Notch. Oh yeah, Mohsin knows what I'm talking about. Alboris. He knows Alboris. He knows what I'm talking about. That's how you actually. That's like when Farsi people say my name. That's what comes out of the mouth. And then we got Control D Chaos and a Resolume that could play Notch blocks or Notch LC. I guess that would be a feature request of his.
So when it comes to Resolume, I think it's a little bit harder because Resolume is not meant to play back heavy duty files. When I say that, I mean that the way the Resolume sees it. We actually had conversations with guys at Resolume. They're amazing. And they said that it's a bit of a concern of how do you actually manage the performance if you drop in a ton of Notch blocks at once or a ton of TouchDesigner blocks. Yeah. So I think they are much more happy with getting texture feeds like via NDI or Spout, and they trust that will be your best course of action. So we cannot really argue with that. If that's what they see as best course of action, we just go with it. So I'm gonna make a little shameless plug.
Shame it.
Shameless plug.
No, don't shame it. I mean plug it. That's what I meant. Don't shame it. Plug it.
So the question of triggering, I actually have a little setup that might be useful.
Oh yeah.
And I shared it via Behance page that I ran. So behance.net/ArminWorks, that's my handle. You will find a file called Axis Human, and that's actually using this triggering system where sort of different things happens if different trigger boxes are touched, and it's using motion capture suite. So it might be interesting in general.
And I just posted it in the chat. A link to your Behance, and you said it was called
Axis Human.
I'm looking.
Axis Human. And the very node in question is Hot Zone. So Hot Zone allows you to have a bounding box that sets the triggering and allows to have an input for, well, enabler. So in this case, the body of motion tracked suit. So if you
found it. Okay, so I'll post a link to that also in the chat for folks.
Yeah, so this probably would be a good start for that ragdoll triggering system. I would grab that, take it apart. Likely this is a good starting point.
Well, for a lot of these Behance things, you have the project files available for download also?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's amazing. So I would recommend folks check it out because I'm just looking through it and there's a lot of really hype stuff in here.
I'll just mention the fact that we have a Facebook user group. So it's literally called Notch User Group on Facebook. And what happens a lot there is people sharing their work files and their findings and their discoveries. So I myself am a part of that interaction movement. I think it's important to share things if you want to move forward as a community. So this is not exclusive to me. We all do that. So if you want to see more things from other people, do hang out in our Facebook user group. There's a lot of things happening there. For more in-depth information about things, you could easily visit a Notch forum. We are keeping a hawk's eye on the Notch forum as our internal team. So if there's a question coming in, we're always prioritize answering questions there, because if it's answered in the forum, it's going to be visible for a vast number of people who likely will run into similar question down the line. So forums, Facebook user group, let's hang out there. We're definitely there all the time.
Great. So I'm trying to keep up with chat here. We do have a question again. Armin, what's the track ID of the Alchemist on your Behance? Sick portfolio, by the way.
Appreciate that comment. Good sir, I presume? Miss, sir?
I don't know.
Hard to say. The handle is very cryptic.
But, I will say it's not like folks, I come from the old days of the forums, so my forum names are always just Elbers. I don't have like a sick, Gig Slayer, 666. Although that would be, if I was gonna do it, that would be something like that. It would
Gig
be like
Slayer, that's a good
Paycheck
one.
Casher 666 or something. That would be me.
So for the Alchemist, I actually, to be honest, if you find any of those interesting, the tracks that I use, I always give credit in Vimeo. So if you press on a Vimeo link, inside there's always track ID. So in this case, Matt Muss, Melanie.
Okay, so you can follow track ID on there, and you said it's Melody by Matt Mouse?
Matt Muss, Melanie.
Matt Mouse.
Melanie.
Okay, so it's there. Also, it's Adrian. That is who it is.
Adrian.
That's
Okay.
her, Adrian. Thank you. Thanks for your questions, Adrian.
Thank you, sir.
And your other question was really hyped, by the way, which got us on all the... It was... I mean, Armin, what do you think about like a prize on that one? That one got both of us to go on tangents. The one that was about... could you do this all in TouchDesigner?
Agreed. You know the drill. Armin at Notch. .1. Let's talk.
Adrian, send him an email. If not, if you need any help getting that connection going, just send us a private message on Discord, or not on Discord, on Twitch. That's where we are. Send me a private message on Twitch. I'll make sure you can get that. Congrats. You get yourself a gold keychain.
Well done. Definitely well done. Talking about stage names, ask me how I came up with mine.
How did you come up with Armin, how did you come up with your stage name?
I'm so happy you asked. I thought you never will. So I was working in a bar. I was a bartender for a good while when I was much younger. And I had this colleague who I presume was either Irish or Scottish. Although I cannot tell exactly whether he's from one or the other part. But he had this very, very, very amusing accent, which I really enjoyed. Oh, we went to... Oh, we're back.
Sorry, yeah. I had a
changes.
request to turn up your audio just a tiny bit, so I hopped over to OBS to do that.
Appreciate it.
No
so
problem.
anyways, this guy, he would always come up to work, and I would be like, hey, mate, how are you? What's going on? He's like, all good. Werking. So I thought, this is an amazing handle. So I figured out I'm going to be Armin Werks, because I'm werking.
Yeah, always werking.
Always werking? Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah. Simple as that. Thank you for asking, by the way. That's so kind of you.
No problem. My pleasure.
I was so looking forward to share this. Nobody ever asks.
We do have another Notch question for you here.
Yes,
Is
sure.
there a Discord server for Notch community? Because the TouchDesigner one does have one. So this is actually an interesting question. Do you guys have Discord?
I'm certain there is, but it's not run by Notch officially, so it's likely run by users. So either someone who is actually using Notch will give a shout out now in a chat with the directions to Discord, or you could easily head to a Notch user group on Facebook and give a shout there. You're going to be hooked up straight away. I'm sure that there's even an official Slack group and an official WhatsApp group. There are quite a few communities. So the ones that we keep an eye on is definitely priority on forum. We happen to hang out on Facebook because, well, everybody has Facebook. So you just end up being there.
So I will say, if you are joining us a little bit kind of into the stream, I just posted a link. So if you do want to grab the reference files for this, go to that link. It's about 2 gigabytes of a download. It's got the TouchDesigner project. It's got the Notch project, and it's got the pre-compiled Notch block. All that good stuff is there for your reference. I just posted it into the chat. Rajat's asking, is there a Discord for the HQ Pro? We do not have one now. We're always open and thinking about ways we can get our community a little bit grown. But we do have a private Facebook group for all HQ Pro members, which, listen, I'm just going to take the moment. If we're talking about the HQ Pro. If you want to check it out, here's a link I just put in the chat, which gets you 50% off your first month in the HQ Pro. Let me tell you, if I'm a biased person, because all people are biased, but I'll say in the unbiased way, I think it's the best place you can go to learn TouchDesigner and just general interactive and immersive, industry knowledge. We have tons of, I think we got over 60, 70 hours almost of content on there in terms of workshops, covering all kinds of TouchDesigner topics, from very beginner stuff to intermediate stuff, like doing Python, doing render picking, like all these really like important TouchDesigner techniques, all the way up to the advanced stuff of like, how do I optimize my project to the nth degree? We even have like business workshops, like how do I sign contracts? How do I set up contracts? So we really do have you covered across the board. We got a private community where myself and our other fellow teacher, Matthew Reagan, are up in there, always helping you out. I'm telling you, like, I it's hard for me to hold in the excitement because I know how much value and kind of support and community we're bringing folks. So check it out. I think you'll like it. And there's a 50% off coupon right there for you. Rajat, thank you, my friend. Rajat says, HQ Pro is dope. Highly recommended. Thank you, my friend. So with that said, I'm going to put that link again for the download.
Yes, this is so important to mention yet again. I think we've been over that. I think Elbers was the one mentioning. Please download and check files now while we are online. If there's anything that you find odd or questionable, or you would like us to talk about more, this is a great time, because we will not be streaming live again. This was 3-event series. We had Monday, Wednesday, and today is Friday. If any questions, this is the perfect time. This is perfect time for that.
Oh, and Tristan, thank you, also says HQ Pro has great tutorials. Thank you, my friend. I appreciate the love.
Well said. Actually, they are great. I did watch the beginner's course for TouchDesigner. I really appreciate the fact that Elbers considers us designers, because we don't talk code. Like, I actually picture Keanu Reeves in Matrix sitting there and going like, I know Kung Fu. So it's like, that's Elbers right there.
And then there's other people who think I'm Morpheus, and it's like, do you think that's air you're breathing? Like,
how deep does the code go?
Thank you all for the kind words about it. How long will the link be available? So our promo for that 50% off, we'll probably have it available for about a week. So if you do want to take advantage, I highly recommend taking advantage now. If the download is what you're talking about, this download link, what we're going to do is post it up on our blog and website as well. So it'll be up there basically until Dropbox goes out of business.
With that said, I'm going to make a request live, Elbers, and I'll make sure that you commit to it.
Oh God,
I made it sound grand, but it's actually a very simple thing. I think we should post a link to YouTube as well on the stream 1, 2, and 3. Yeah, just for the 100%. Convenience.
I'm gonna make a wrap-up post that's gonna have links to the recordings, links to the download files. We'll blast it out in a big old-fashioned email. So if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, hint, hint, might be a good time to do that on our website, interactiveimmersive.io. Let me hit that link, interactiveimmersive.io. I should do like a little jingle.
I should say, I haven't seen this game go further than halfway. Actually,
no, this one's hard. And
this one's hard.
You know what? And this was a good example of why remember I made a huge big deal. I think I talked for like 10 minutes about that feedback loop being something that people really have to be aware of, because this one doesn't have the voting mechanism. So unlike the other ones, which they aced, I mean, you guys didn't do the quiz one, but the quiz one is super hard, I'll say. But they aced tic-tac-toe in 5 minutes. But this one, I think you're going to have a lot of trouble with, because every command is live. So you're triggering a command. TouchDesigner system gets it instantly. So if you're doing up, 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 Touch is getting it instantly. But it's going to be about 3, 5, 7, depending on your bandwidth and connection to Twitch server. It's going to be a few seconds before you guys see what's happening on screen. And then by the time you react to, change course, it's another 3 to... So this was a fun one for chaos purposes. But also just as an example of there's some places where it may work, but some places where having that direct connection of one-to-one command to action is actually going to be a really challenging thing to control and kind of make worthwhile. So this is a little bit of a trap. I was even telling Armin before we said, I'm like, I don't think they're going to be able to win. It's going to be the only thing that would be chaos is if everybody started mashing commands all over the place to just make the thing go wild.
Fair point.
So with that said, if you got
damn it,
it's the silly hat o'clock. So hold on, where's my silly hat at? This.
That was cruel. I thought that people forgot about the hats, but there we go. Yeah. So you look like a cowboy, to be honest.
I look like a cowboy. Thank you. You should get the rap name, and I should get the country music name. I think.
I think you're the sheriff here in town. To be honest, you should get a country taste.
Oh, and actually, so Orb Vorgus said I joined the chat not knowing that was a thing, and he's very, very pleasant. So I guess we should, if you're joining late. Over the course of the week, we've been building this kind of virtual game show environment in Notch. We made a couple mini games in TouchDesigner, hooked up Twitch chat commands to them so you can control it. And today they're over here. They are live on your screen for you to play with. If you look, I think, follow the vector of my fingers. If they drew a straight line down to where the instructions are for playing the different games down there with the little exclamation point commands. And also we hit a couple of Easter egg commands in there. One of them, which just got triggered, was for us to put on silly hats, which now I'm starting to resent because I don't think this is not a silly hat to me. This is my camping hat. But in the context of me normally wearing all black, it kind of looks like a silly hat. Like I wouldn't go out in public with it, but it's a useful hat, people. It's not just purely silly hat. So
I agree. This is my working hat as well. I work as a Santa's flight attendant.
They changed over to the quiz. I think they're getting tired of tired of losing in the maze.
Let's see if we can instigated.
Let's see if we can get some wins on the board here for this. So, while we are here, I got another question for you. Actually, I got a lot of questions written down. Have you had an aha moment in Notch recently? So if you answer on the Notch side, I can answer on the TouchDesigner side. Has there been anything that's maybe a new technique that you've discovered or learned, or a new feature that come out that's really like changed your workflow, or in your personal practice, have you had kind of like oh man, that's like a sick, I'm going to use this from now on for sure?
So there are quite a few. I always find something like that because I just like to mess about in the software. And since we are back to this time saver thing and the real-time thing, since it doesn't tax you with waiting time and you just mess about and then you do something. So I do a lot of R&D for no reason. And when you do things for no reason, you find things that you maybe didn't anticipate finding. So I get quite a few of those aha moments just because you try things. The one that really struck me well, it happened a while ago. And this is the one that I actually can just talk about, because other ones I probably should have to show for them to make sense. So I didn't really appreciate the fact that you can externally plug up textures to the material node at all.
Oh, interesting.
But
you would always do it internally from the properties.
Yeah, you just drop in with the drop down and you're good. But at some point I figured out that if you use the external texture, and you can actually plug it to all different types of inputs. So if you have a color texture, you can send it to color input. But then we have something called then we have a post effect called normal generator. So if you add a video null, apply normal generator, you can generate normals out of the color texture, pipe it in. Then you can then you can make a displacement map, which is usually black and white pass with a little bit of a blur. So you can displace the texture. And you can even have a diffuse pass, and so forward. So basically by having one texture map, you can build a 3D insane terrain, for instance, or some kind of a elaborate displacements of the, let's say, a abstract picture. That was a big discovery for me. And it goes a little bit further than that because it's not really static. So if you have a video, you can use the video file for normals, for displacements, for you name it. So I was really blown away by that. Like that happened obviously a little bit before, but that was 100% an aha moment, and that's something I hope makes sense when I'm explaining it like this.
Yeah, and it's funny because as a TouchDesigner person getting into Notch, the first thing I did was wire them up. I didn't use the dropdowns.
There we go.
So that's funny. That's an interesting one. So before I say mine, we do have a couple of chat little comments and questions I'll answer before I say my quick aha moment. Actually, no, I lied. I'm going to say my aha quick because it's a fast one. I actually found this toolkit from good friend of mine, well, a new good friend of mine, Daryl, who is an Unreal developer, Houdini artist out in the UK, does a lot of creative direction. And he put together this really cool tool called the Cinemotion Camera Motion Kit. And I'm going to drop a link in the chat because he spent a lot of time basically recording and cleaning up tons of mocap pre-recorded camera moves. And he basically exported them into super easy to input formats, or super easy to import formats for TouchDesigner, Houdini, probably even Notch, because he basically, like, you know, there's one version of all the animations baked into FBX animations. There's B-Clip, I believe, for Houdini, and even bringing them into TouchDesigner. And it is super, super cool because it's, you know, I even wrote a quick blog post about it that I posted in there. Literally, you drag and drop it in, and you've got, like, you know, some of those really natural camera movements in like 30-second loops that can really just give like a lot of cool natural feel to a rendering scene.
To add to your aha moment, I think we both had a bit of an aha moment when we started to work with this one. And I discovered things from your side that I didn't know about, especially when it comes to connectivity, like the zero tier and OBS Ninja.
Zero tier type.
Oh man, these will make my life so much easier. It's just it's a bread. Like, there's bread and butter. This definitely is bread. And I think you had a little bit of a moment when we spoke about Mixamo. So that's maybe something worthy to drop as a link as well.
Let me. So I want to put in zero tier. Zero tier is a cool way that you can make a VPN, which is just like a virtual private network between machines that are far away from each other. And the cool part about it is there's a free tier that you can use, and essentially, once you get a couple of machines connected, it literally takes like less than 10 minutes to set up. When you get them all connected, then what you can do is almost treat all these computers like they're on the same local network, like they're all in the same room. So on the Wednesday session, we could see that Armin was remote editing the Notch block that was loaded inside of Touch live from his machine all the way, you know, halfway across the world. So that was really fun. You could do things like share USB devices, mice, like all these kind of things can be shared back and forth. So there's a lot of like really cool stuff you can do on that side of things. And Mixamo was my discovery from Armin, which I guess like I'd never onto Mixamo, and then Adobe bought them. And it's like, basically like, how would you describe it? Like, it's a library of 3D models and animations that you can kind of mix and match.
Yes, and not only that, so it is a library that has a vast number of models to choose from, and then there's a vast number of animations that you can apply on those models. But it's actually a rigging system too. So basically, if you have a 3D model in a static T position, whether it would be FBX model or OBJ model, you can drop it in, set the key points, which would be like elbows and wrists and the neck or the chest. You just drop a couple of pins and it will rig up the full body bone structure for you, which is very much standard for majority of 3D applications. So it will be read across the board. So whatever you rig in Mixamo will be finely read in Notch. You just bring it in and it's gonna work. So not only that, but once you are rigged up with with the system, you can actually use motion capture suits as well, which Notch and Touch, both of the systems support natively.
So we got a couple chat comments here, which I need to get through. So one of them was Super Duper Bill was asking, could you build in a delay to your chat responses to help with that kind of feedback loop I was mentioning? Or would that not work with everyone having different delay rates? Yeah, I suppose you could build it in a little bit, except it would still... that would be a little bit better, actually. That's a good idea. I think you would still probably want to build some other metric of it, because then you're still like typing, waiting to see something happen before you type again. So there's still like this kind of like dead zone of time. We got another comment. Actually, we got two comments. Are we also experiencing a delay on the quiz show here too? We're basically answering the last question. Oh, interesting. Quiz show might be bugged. So going back to what I was saying earlier, you know, if more time, I would have 100% double checked all the logic. So it's very possible game show might be the quiz show might be a little bit kind of like doing not the right thing. I can actually check live in a second. But what I'll do is I'll probably get Armin a question before I dive in to make sure the quiz show is working.
Let's do it.
let me see here.
Oh, in the chat, I see that there's a shout for HDR Heaven. Yes.
Oh, yes. HDRIhaven.com. That's a great place to go. I think I've even gone there and downloaded like a bunch of stuff.
It's amazing. So the thing is that it's completely free of charge and is community ran. And not only there's HDRIs, but there's a sister website or brother website that has textures. So basically texture maps, color, displacements, normals, you name it, all free of charge. Really nice places. Awesome stuff.
That sounds like a sweet resource.
Yep, it definitely is.
So here's my question for you, Armin. And also, folks in the chat, by all means, if you got more questions, put the questions in the chat. Here's my question to you. When you're working with most people or you're teaching a lot of these Notch classes, what would you say is most people's either weakness or an area where if most people developed a little bit further, they would get a lot of bang for buck out of it? So if you answer on the touch side, then I can give you answer on the Notch side. I'll give or we could flip it. You could answer on the touch side and I can answer on the Notch side, but I think the other way around is better. So, from your experience of teaching a lot of these Notch courses, what do you feel that people could improve to get a lot of bang for buck?
Okay. Yeah. So in 3D, the most important thing, what makes a good illusion of good 3D stuff is lighting. I know it will sound very boring, but that's fundamentals. That is the most important thing ever. If you nail the lighting right, even something as simple as a glass or an apple lit up right will look exciting, will look great. So while I cannot offer you a school on lighting, I have to say that there's a ton of those already available. Best tip that I've gotten about lighting is taking up a camera, going out and shooting some photos. Because
interesting.
You are actually replicating the real world in the 3D world. And there are several things in the real world that are prominent. There are studio setups that you can easily recreate in 3D. So I'm talking about 45-degree angle spotlights and filler lights and rim lights. If you understand how they work in real world, you will be more susceptible on recreating those in 3D. Same with simple stuff like making things a bit more mystique. So usually if a person is good at modeling, he would model something in and he would try to show the best of it. So he would light it up really, really immensely, like it's all popped there in the center. But that doesn't leave a question to a viewer. So if you model a nice model of a car and you light up only the center of it or only the front of it and the rest fades to black, to the void, that already is more intriguing. So I would invest time to lighting. The easiest way to invest time into lighting and learning the basics of it, or learning the good basics of it, good understanding, is by literally taking pictures and going out and doing that. So if you have access to studio lights, you're in such a big win, you cannot even imagine. Just try to work with them, try to make amazing pictures, and you will see how that will change your 3D work, not only with the lighting, but with the composition too. So ever since I learned that thing, or I came to comprehend that when I was suggested this as a workflow, my 3D went way up when I started to take actual pictures. And you don't really need a camera for that these days. If you have a decent phone, which we all have phones with X amount of megapixels, you're good to go. Just take pictures and you will see how this understanding of lighting will change in your 3D work as well.
That's an interesting one. I think I like that. I like the go outside the box to learn stuff that you bring back to the box.
Well, that's the thing. So the most simple thing. Let's say I am here sitting in my studio and I have a couple of lights. So they are not perfect. There is no chance to make sure that these are both in the very, very same color space. One of them are surely a little bit off. So when you're building your 3D, if you have 2 or 3 lights and you have them all set to default, well, offset one tiniest bit to the red and the other one tiniest bit to the blue. Because what makes 3D believable is the imperfections, because there's nothing, absolutely nothing perfect in our world. That's why some movies look a little bit odd and you recognize, oh, that's definitely 3D, because they do not add the imperfections. They do not add decent bump maps, displacements, normals, or even the small tricks with lighting. And the ones that do, you lose the perception of reality versus 3D. I'm done with my rant.
That's pretty interesting. No, I like that. I wish I had something similar because mine is actually like super boring in comparison. And I think it's similar. It's similar to what we were talking about just before we were going on the screen. which was this idea of logics and chops. I feel like especially a lot of the tendencies I see from TouchDesigner developers, early on in their development and like learning TouchDesigner is you learn, 5 or 10 chops, and those become your go-to chops. Anytime you need to do something with chops or logic or control signals, you're like, oh, I have these 10 chops. But there's a lot of chops. Like there's a lot of chops, a lot more than 10. And I find people are using the same 10 and not really taking the time to explore what some of these less common chops do, because they really make you powerful. And so the real problem is when you only have 10 chops, you quickly start reaching for complicated Python scripts. Your projects become very code heavy quickly. Code can be prone to bugs. Running Python every frame is slow, whereas chops are basically just like C++ math. Sorry, and so you were going to add something. Sorry, you add something before I
I can relate to that. I completely relate to that even on a Notch side. I happen to hang out in support once in a while, and I notice people coming to us with expectations of certain things without actually exploring the options that are already built in. So then there's a request like, oh, can I have a code that does this and that, and how do I implement my own code? And then at most cases, the answer is just, well, take this node and pipe it to that node to achieve this kind of a result. So the takeaway here is that you should explore the available options before you go for exclusive decisions, as Elbrus implied. You don't really necessarily need to write code to achieve that specific thing if you know the fundamentals or the majority of available nodes. Most likely this works much more in Touch, this kind of approach, than in Notch. But even in Notch, there are instances where you just have to explore to find the best approach, and it's already probably there. And if it's not, likely it's going to be added as a node or as a option in a node, because that's what software is all about. It's meant to save you time, and it's meant to save you headache. So if you're using Touch or using Notch, likely these tools should allow you to achieve things without actually writing an elaborate script, because that's why they are there for. Does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. And I would add to that, like we even saw in the chat, or Vorgis gave a shout out to the lookup chop. So like there's a lot of ways I think you could separate where people are at in their stages of like experience with software and kind of like your guru status in air quotation marks. For me, it's always just the easiest one for me to find is chops. If I look at somebody's project and there is only a little bit of Python and I see this chop network that's very efficient, does all the logic, controls all these things, and I would even say like, I guess my chop hero would probably be Marcus from Derivative. Sometimes you look at Marcus's networks and there's like 5, it's like a Zen garden, there's like 5 operators, and it goes from the most basic signal to like the most perfect and complex signal you could ever want for controlling things. And you're like, how it's just like he did that thing where he just raked around the sand and then like it was done. And I always keep that like in my heart, which when I'm working with chops is like, how would Marcus approach this? How would he kind of like build these really spectacular chop networks, knowing that you have this whole toolbox and learning this whole toolbox, sometimes just whether it's through op snippets or just throwing a chop down and seeing what it does and like messing with it. I think there's a lot of value in that. So I would say that's what I would see. I think people would gain a lot also from that, because their projects will become faster, easier to manage, and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's worthy to point out too. If you're using built-in commands, systems, nodes, tools, likely they're thought out to a point where they work with quite a few other things in the system. They're already rigged in a way that they're going to respond with other tools. And if you write your own code, well, it's very much your own code that is targeted to that specific thing. Should you want to plug in something else into that code, you might run into trouble, or you will need to write additional code just to make extra things run. So let's just maybe consolidate this by saying that having a good understanding of every single node or every single tool available in the software is a huge benefit. Huge benefit. And that
100%.
this doesn't come in a week. This doesn't even come in half year, most likely.
Oh,
it takes time.
I'm a decade in. I'm still learning stuff.
I was about to say the same thing. Like I work for Notch, but I am still learning Notch very much, and I have these aha moments, of which Elbers asked before, and there's quite a few of those. Some are easy to explain in 2 sentences. Some are very simple, but it requires a real good showcase for it to make sense. But it's the exploration that drives you forward, and the more you know, the easier your day becomes. Again, you're saving time, and we all know what time is the most expensive currency out there.
The most expensive currency. There it is. It's even more. It's even 1 hour of time is more than 1 Bitcoin. I'm just going to say it out there. Bam, bam. Hot take. So while we're on this kind of like transitioning between questions, I'm going to put in the chat a link to download all the project files in case you are coming to the stream a little bit late. They're all there. There's the Touch project, the Notch project, as well as the pre-compiled Notch block. And we should say, like, you know, I think for people that maybe are just downloading it out of context, you know, we had a good setup on Monday where this was something we built literally, like, so you spent 2 days on it, then I went in and quickly spent 2 days on it. So what people are looking at is kind of a fun proof of concept, especially when it comes to some of these Twitch mini games and like the, you know, the little, oh, it's a little bit delay here, a little bit delay there. These are definitely like examples more than they are like something that we're like going to get paid for.
This right here, where it's happening exactly right here, is a chat corner. Can we switch at least once to chat corner?
Yeah, let's go to chat corner.
Let's go to chat corner.
I don't think we built a command. Oh, yo, the quiz got something right for once. That's pretty exciting.
That's good. That's good.
I didn't build a command for the chat corner, so I just got to go to there manually. Which let my screen refresh here.
So this is just yet another proof that this is all running live with
let's go to chat corner. Although I don't know if our cameras are in the chat corner. No, our cameras are not feeding in. Because we moved all the system over. How do we get some image in here?
Let's then. I guess then we don't have to do that. Unless you're willing to do that.
Let me think. How do we do this? How could I do? You know what I could do? I could snipe. Hold on. I'm gonna go to the other screen. I'm gonna go find my OBS Ninja link. Where's Elbers? There is ES. Come on, copy. And I can hopefully do this without taking the stream offline is like my real goal right now.
Let's give it a minute. If it runs, that's great. If not, we'll just drop it.
Because one of the cool features with Touch is being able to render web content. Now, this isn't always perfect for a lot of like web video sources, but in a pinch, you'll see like a cool thing I can do here is the same way that I'm sending my video feed to the server, I can like just get this inside of the operator as a browser source. Now to get, oh, actually we got a little, you got the firewall. Yep,
I got it.
Took care of it. Thank you.
Taking care of it.
So now how can we get you in here? Because you're going in through.
So I'm directly filming.
You're directly in. Because you're going straight camera, right?
So unless.
Do you have that webcam that you were telling me about earlier?
I could try to find it, but I could try.
Okay, if not, as an example, we'll just say as an example here, I'll just pipe myself in twice.
Yep. Sounds good. Anyways, we are there in the corner anyways. So there we have Elbers in the corner.
What's good? You know, in the chat corner. Armin and Elbers. Now it's technically Elbers and Elbers, which is a little bit. There's a lot of me on screen right now that makes me a little uncomfortable.
So you were talking and I stopped you. So let's further up from where we left off.
What was I saying? Do you remember?
That's a fair question.
Sometimes I just like go off the rails.
I don't think you go off the rails. I think you're going on the conversations about the topics that are most relevant at the moment. And I think we were discussing one of those.
Yeah. If in the chat you remember what we were talking about, holler.
Or I think we just talk about something else.
We finished talking about chops. I remember that. We finished talking about learning chops and stuff like that. And actually, we got to. Oh, you know what? Let's go to Granny Corner.
Yeah, let's
Granny
go
Corner
there.
is way better because that's got the Twitch chat embedded into it. Let's go to Grandma's Corner, which is now the
Hologramma. Last time I checked.
Hologramma.
Hologramma.
Hologramma Corner. Here it is, coming at you live. And there's your Twitch chat coming in live.
Have you noticed one specific thing about our hologramma? She's very relatable for 2020. Apparently, she's living in California or Florida, and she has a little bit of a tan on her face. Yet, she was wearing a mask.
Look at that. That's very relatable.
Very relatable and very important thing to remember. Wear a mask, be safe, and create it responsibly.
Take care of yourselves, folks. It's a little crazy out there.
Yep.
Oh, you know what I was saying before? We were talking about Time Squid got my back, my good friend Hal here. We were talking about the example project files. If you want to download them, I'm going to put a link here. We'll make a nice post on our website and send it out in case you do miss it. And just to give you a reference, like, you know, these are examples. Don't consider these like final finished products. You know, like this is what they would have built if they had a million times. Like, you know, this is kind of like run and gun. We wanted to put together a bunch of stuff that you could take a look at, use as base, use as examples. So, you know, when you're playing some of these games, I will say like the maze one, I made purposefully hard. The quiz one could be better tested, I think, like I mentioned at the beginning. They're kind of silly and just like more for the fun of the stream than anything else.
But to Elbrus's point, the reason why we didn't go further than we did is because we spoke about that before. Is because you usually have a very constricted time space to deliver a project. So it wouldn't have been fair for us to spend 3 months delivering something and saying like, look at this amazing thing that you can build using half a year, 25 guys, and 200,000 worth of resources. That's not the reality that you guys live, and actually us as designers or producers or developers live if there's an actual product. You have a week, you have a limited number of resources when it comes to spending on models, spending on maybe hiring a colleague or whatever. So you have to make best in a short span of time with the tools that you have on hand. And that's exactly what we did. So we took some templates, we took some available code. I presume that's exactly what Elbrus did with games. He got some things that he can repurpose. And we made it happen in a short span of time. So 2 days for me, 2 days for him. Here we are. So of course it's not perfect. There are some little things that could be tweaked, but this just proves the point that this is available in a span of a week. Yeah.
So we do have some good questions up in the chat now that we're going to catch up on. So we have one from Diego San saying, what are the main differences we should consider, in brackets, TouchDesigner users for approaching learning Notch? I think I would say one of the most useful things for me was actually really focusing on what's the same and what's different. And that really helps ground you when you're learning Notch, so that you're not just learning a whole, you know, I always, you know, a comparison I always make is, are you trying to make a 0 to 1 transition, or are you trying to cross grade? If you go and try and learn Notch and you pretend like you don't know TouchDesigner, you're trying to do the 0 to 1 transition, which is always like a big jump. If you come to Notch thinking, okay, so what things are the same and what things are different, then you can kind of apply some lateral logic to it. So like a good example that I always make is, I always consider modifiers are like chops. So anytime in your head you're like, I wish I had a chop, in Notch I'm thinking about modifiers. That all of a sudden, boom, you know, you bring a whole world of knowledge with you to the new platform. And I think one of the main differences that will probably be the one that most people have to get used to is just a little bit of the different wiring mechanics that happen between nodes in Notch, especially how that relates to the root node, which a good way that, you know, going back to the lateral, I always consider the root node is kind of like a render top of mine. And because everything is basically GPU accelerated, everything goes into a render top in Notch, you know, which is the root node. And then if I need to do render passes, you know, I start going for render layers. But just even thinking about that and just getting used to wiring, I think there's no way to get better at it other than just doing it a bunch. Make a bunch of networks, you know when data travels down the wire and keeps going, know when things like post effects, you know, the wire goes down to it, but it applies the effects back onto the node that you had. Those are the kind of things that you just kind of get used to over time. I mean, Armin, from your training experience, what do you think is, either for specifically TouchDesigner users or just for most people learning it, what's the thing they get held up on a lot?
So I'll talk about TouchDesigner users because I think this is the most relevant for this conversation. I think TouchDesigner users are very used to solving their problems by writing custom code. I didn't get what I wanted, I didn't find the node that I maybe anticipated, or I didn't really care to learn about that node, so I just wrote a little code of my own, and I'm good to go. So Notch prides itself on the fact that you don't need to know code, and I'm living, breathing example of knowing no code but managing to do interactive settings. And that's probably one thing that you have to sort of leave a little bit aside when you come from Touch to Notch. You are expected to use tools that are out there in the system to make the best out of it. Of course, you can write JavaScript yourself and use that, but most likely 95% of the times there's already something for you there that will allow you to do with the internal built nodes, internal built tools. So that's maybe this one thing that you should consider when you go for Notch. Do not think about coding, think about creating designs, because this is a tool that allows you to create designs, basically. You're expected to use nodes, you're expected to make crazy tweaks and achieve that look. Most likely, these things that you're looking for is already there. So let's say building a particle system in Notch requires 5 nodes, and you're good to go. I presume it might be a little bit more complex in TouchDesigner. So maybe then there's a bit of a gap of acknowledging like, oh, okay, so this is that easy here and it's a little bit more complex there. So just trust in the tools and the nodes that are there. That's gonna give you a good head start.
And here's a good follow-up question from Diego, which is, what are some Friday afternoon?
And it's
Friday afternoon. Just like
hour 2 of the stream for sure.
Just put on my hat and just go crazy. Okay, so let me.
Yes.
What are some useful complementary skills for Notch users? Example, what kind of 3D skills or any kind of other software that might be like, I mean, aside from TouchDesigner, aside from your media server skills, let's put TouchDesigner aside. But if you were going to learn Notch, like, would C4D be like a really good counterpart? Would ZBrush or like, Photoshop, like where would you kind of put your secondary set of like side skills?
So I think being prolific in any other 3D application that offers modeling and UVing is great. I cannot make one or the other stand out more. They are all amazing. They have their strengths. What would make you stand out in the crowd is something that I already seen Ryan or Bart in this case wrote, is knowing how to use delete key, which is optimization, which is how to build 3D models that are practically polyless but looks amazing. When I say polyless, let's say you have a model that is 1 million polys. It's all amazing. It's super intricate. Perhaps I'm talking about something like this watch. So we have all of these circular patterns that has rims and fall-offs or bevels. And all of these require a lot of 3D density, a lot of polys. So if you are able to slim it down and make it more game ready or lighter in the system, you are winning so much in real time.
Oh yeah.
So much. And there's so many ways you can do that. From deciding how far this object will be from the actual camera. Like my watch is that far. So it doesn't really have to have many polys. It's gonna work even if it's 20 polys all around. It's gonna be fine. It's that far. You wouldn't tell. To a point where you consider baking in specific small intricate 3D elements to a normal map. That's another great trick, and that was a aha moment for me when I discovered that, because it only became relevant to me when I started to use real-time tools. If you're using any other tool which is with a dedicated renderer, you just do not care about that. You set up things, hit render, go for coffee, meet your mates, go for a pub, doesn't matter. But in real time, all those polys count. So if you manage to bake in the small intricate details to normal maps, if you manage to reduce the polys where they shouldn't be, you're so ahead of the curve, you're so ahead of the game, especially in 2020 when virtual productions is prominent. So being able to make amazing things run light on the system is a big benefit. If you can do that, you should definitely make yourself available in Earlbur's
jobs.interactiveimmersive.io. Okay, hold on. Well, I was gonna show it later, but you
hold it. I have a whole tantrum that I want to go through now.
Oh yeah, okay, go.
So in the gaming industry, it's very common to hire a person. You can call him a designer, a developer. You give any name you want to that person, who is responsible about optimizing the models. It's literally valid occupation. Some people spend their lives working just on that. They get assets, they optimize them, they pass it back to the studio. in our event industry or in the installation industry, this is still a hanging mystery. So if there is a person or a group of people who are good at that and they would make themselves available in the Elbrus's listings, I can assure you they will be busy, especially in 2020 with virtual productions. That's such a good skill.
I'm dragging it over. It's coming. Hold on, give it a sec. I'm coming from the other screen.
Drum roll.
Drum roll, please.
Do you need help with this? I think I have a handle on that.
Hold on. I almost got it. Oh, we got it. Okay.
Yeah.
So a fun thing, great little announcement. And don't worry, I'm keeping track of Twitch chat questions. I'm coming back. We're not missing anybody. But a fun announcement, we did release a brand new job platform this week. If you go to jobs.interactiveimmersive.io, and I'll put the link in the chat for you, jobs.interactiveimmersive.io. This, we hope, becomes a really go-to spot for everyone in our industry to look for gigs if you're talent, or to post gigs if you're an employer. For employers, posting those jobs are free, so we really hope that really reduces the barrier to entry, especially for contract gigs. For those quick turnaround gigs, one of the reasons you never see those on job postings is because most other sites charge money, and it's often not worth it for employers to pay money to post a 3-week, 2-week, 4-week gig, because if it costs them $1,000, listen, for a 4-week gig, that's a lot of the budget. So we're hoping that this really helps that. If you're an employer, feel free to reach out. We'll get you all set up and get you going. For users, it's free to come here, look through jobs. We got a ton of jobs already being posted. Let me see here, find a job. The nice thing is modern platform. You can sort them by skills, the different postings. You can see where they're at. Tons of good stuff in here. Free to use, by all means, go to town. Now, if you did want to take it to the next level, and I'm talking to both employers and talent here, on the employer side, we've got a really huge following now. So if you wanted to get those jobs filled quickly, one of the nice things you can do is sign up to the HQ Pro as an organization. By all means, you can give us a quick little message via email at support@interactiveimmersive.io. Send us a message on Twitch. Wherever you send us a message, don't worry, we'll get it. We can help you hook it up. But when you do that, what you'll get is access to being able to feature your job on the front page, which makes sure it's going to get a lot of exposure, as well as having that job blasted out inside of our weekly emails. So that way that thousands and thousands and thousands of people inside of our industry are getting their eyes on your position and or situation.
Yeah. So
now, if you're sorry, go ahead.
No, please. If you have more, I can add. I can add after.
I was just going to say that. And the last thing is for talent. One of the really cool things is that if you are an HQ Pro member, you can actually host your whole profile on the job platform. So you can have a really nice looking area where you talk about your work, talk about your awards, talk about your skills. And we can see we have soft launched it this week. So some of the members of the HQ Pro are already getting their profiles up and running. You can do things like put pictures of your work up there and have it really be something where as the companies are posting their jobs, they're going to look over and be like, oh, okay, cool. Well, here's Dylan who's up in Los Angeles and Aristotle who's between London and Athens. Like, oh, great, they're nearby. Maybe, and I'll just send them a message real quick. And those are things that you can have happen if you're inside of the HQ Pro. So by all means, Armin, you were going to drop something on me.
Yeah, I was just about to say that, well, basically this whole thing that we're doing this week just proves the necessity for communication and handshakes. I know Notch and Elbrus is great at touch. So we can assist each other so much by I can spend one day saving him, let's say 3 days
lots
worth
of days.
Work.
Yeah, lots of days.
and vice versa. So reaching out to different artists doing different things and collaborating is great. And I would say collaboration, let's say, between me and Elbrus is awesome because, well, we do not overlap. So that means we're absolutely not a competition to each other. If anything, we are best friends right here because he can do what I can. Of course. Talking like software-wise, we are just handshaking so well because we do not overlap. We just deliver different aspects. That likely brings the project faster on the table. And hopefully there is more time for your family to spend. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to waste time on doing things that perhaps would take too long for you. And maybe the cake becomes bigger because, well, you managed to solve things faster and you can go for something else way, way sooner than you anticipated. So that's really 100%. Good.
And I also put a link in the chat. So if you did want to check out the HQ Pro, we have a special promo going on just for the viewers who have joined us for these special event, and the link will be active probably for another week or so, but it gets you 50% off your first month, which I think is a steal and a half. So by all means, check up in the chat for that link. It's iihq.tv/50. Okay, so we should catch up on some questions because we've been going off a little bit. I want to catch up on a few questions.
I would say we catch up on the questions, and you probably should start to think about...
And we're wrapping it up. Yeah, we're wrapping it up.
True.
So let's almost consider these a little bit speed roundy almost. You know what I'm saying? Speed roundy?
Yep.
Okay, so here's first. What are the specs of the PC running y'all's setup? Thanks. This one's probably good for you because it's yours.
This one is there's only one spec that counts here for Notch.
Yes.
That's
in all of life. It's the only spec that counts in all of life.
It's a 2080 Ti card, and it's running this patch, and it's running Notch in the background because anticipated if I need to show something in Notch, this is actually idling in the background. So if you are thinking about what's the best graphics card for you for your project, I would say anything from GTX line, anything from 1060 upwards will serve you well. Obviously, until you hit RTX, you cannot expect path tracing to be super fast, although it will work because Notch path tracing is not written on RTX model. It's actually written by ourselves. It would work on GTX cards too. But so for interactive and immersive, anything from 1060 GTX upwards is good. I hadn't had the chance to get my hands on 380 cards yet, but I've heard amazing
my buddy's
things
got a
about
3090. My buddy's got a 3090. Says it's smoking.
I can imagine.
Yeah, so that's. I mean, it's not like this is some crazy $10,000 computer.
This is household machine. Ti. Yeah, this is household machine.
And it's running the Notch patch basically twice, and the touch on top, and it's doing all the OBS streaming.
And that's where we are looping back to the conversation about optimization. So this is all based on a file that's already available as a template. So obviously it's optimized by none other than our own Will Smith. We have Will Smith working for Notch, and he has an abundance of experience in optimizing and building materials because he spent 15 years of his life in the gaming industry delivering Batman games in the Arkham series. So if anyone knows, it's him. And this is his holy mantra. Delete key is your best friend, and optimization gets you so far. So if you do that, you can run crazy things even with the weaker systems. We had a stream Wednesday running on Elbert's small laptop, and and let me tell you, 5-year-old laptop, people. It's got a quad core like Intel, I don't know, 50 something 100, 60 something 100 with a 970M GeForce chip, and it was running like mid 20s FPS because we all pitched in to kind of just like optimize our parts of the workflows. True. So,
and that's a 5-year-old laptop, people. That's a 5-year-old laptop. You know what I'm talking about? I'm not some bougie. When it comes to my camping gear, I can get a little bougie. But when it comes to my working gear, I'm the stingiest, least bougie man there is. I got a 5-year-old laptop over here that I professionally work on full time.
When I started with Notch, I was actually running on Mac Retina 2017, 18 model, I think, or 17 most likely. And what it taught me is good optimization because Macs are not known for insane GPUs.
Yeah.
So therefore, there was a very good school of doing the best you can with the smallest amount of resources you have. So to round this up, you can actually achieve quite a good result with any card you have. But if I was to recommend anything, I would say upwards from 1060, you're getting results, you're getting traction.
And I would personally probably even bump that up and say just start from RTX going on.
It's no point to buy GTX anymore, of course.
It's really hard unless you're really trying to like squeeze that budget. I would say, because even at this point, the only reason I'm considering upgrading the machine is like I want to get those new RTX features that are slowly starting to like appear.
Of which we actually support quite a few directly.
Face tracking at least.
Face tracking, denoising. Yeah, these are great things, and there's going to be more and more of those. So obviously, if you're making an investment, which probably you are, because you don't buy a computer every 6 months or even a year, RTX is a good way to go. Yes.
Okay, so then another quick question: how long will the stream run for? We got another about like 10 minutes, and then we're basically wrapping it up.
But that doesn't mean that this is the end of the patch. You can download this and you can run it locally. Yep.
And we'll be putting up a nice post on the blog at some point next week, just giving you links to all the recordings so you can get those if you missed any of the sessions, getting the downloads, all that good stuff. We'll make sure to get that into your hands.
Rajat is giving a good shout for the RTX 3070. This is a great price for a great card, I'd say. Great price.
100%. Which I think, wasn't there the joke that the 3070 is better than the 2080 Ti? Or is it just the 2080 normal?
You know what? I
3070
cannot
like
vouch, but what I'm going to do straight after the stream, I'm going to go to Notch benchmarking, because we have our own benchmarking, and I'm going to see the listings. This is going to be really interesting to check out, to be honest. Yeah.
Oh, and here's a really good point. Dylan here is mentioning to that point about the polys. He was just working on a project where the UE artist made a 4 million plus poly scene, and they never bothered to turn off ray tracing, so FPS went from 30 to 5. Oops. Even in the pro gigs, people mess up real-time optimization all the time. Definitely worth investing time into. 100%.
Yeah, absolutely. That's relative only to real-time. I guess if you're coming from a standard 3D software, from the standard studio, this is not something you deal with every day. But once you're in this world, it's quite a heavy thing. You definitely should think about it.
Yeah. So we have another question here from Ornamentista. Would the discount have to be activated immediately this month? I would say do your best, and if there's something that for some reason you can't, just send us an email. We're people too. We know, and we know the world's crazy. Like, if just send us a quick email. Support. I'll put our email here. And for any of the folks that have won, and hold on, I'm not like a smart enough human to type and talk at the same time. If you did win a prize as well, and you're trying to get to Armin, you can either email armin@notch.one, or just send me an email, support@interactiveimmersive.io, and I'll make sure to connect you with Armin.
Yeah, if you're more comfortable to go through Elbrus, that's totally fine. As long as we get the contact and I get your details, we're good. You're getting that prize.
So then let's see here. What's the last? Oh yeah, 3070 for $499. That is a banger for real.
That's what I mean. Rajat
that's a banger.
Yeah, he's right.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Now here, listen, I'll tell you, AMD's starting to be interesting. AMD's interesting me. They got my attention.
I just realized, isn't this Friday Black Friday?
Is it? I don't know. It's hard because it's like the all of November becomes Black Friday. Hold on. When is Black Friday 2020? No, it's next week Friday.
Okay. So you have 1 week to consider which card you want to buy.
And I'll say, what you guys will see is a funny YouTube video on our channel next week on Monday. I did a mini what's in your bag of all the gear I always take with me to every job site. And you might find some hot little treats in there that you're like, hey, you know what? I could pick one. And you all know your boy. I'm not going out there buying $1,000 little pieces of kit. It's kind of run and gun gear, like $10 little USB Wi-Fi adapter, $50 little like power battery thing. Like, so don't worry. Like, this is stuff that you can actually like put in your kit, and I explained everything I got up in there. But I digress.
Sweet.
So
I have one piece of kit that I consider posh when I'm traveling, but I'm bringing it on location. Is an espresso machine.
Oh yeah, I got a buddy who does that, and I'll tell you, it's a nice one.
Smallest thing ever, saves lives, man. Coffee in the middle of the night, 3 a.m, when nothing is working, and you still have to deliver in the morning. Coffee machine saves lives.
100%. Okay, so we are getting close to the. I shouldn't say close. 3 minutes before the end time. So if you have a final question, please put it in the chat. Otherwise, myself and Armin, we can start doing our little bits of thanks and any final wrap-up notes that we have. I'm going to start putting links in the chat for everybody. Armin, are there any kind of final things that you would like to leave people with?
Yeah, I have. I'm coining a phrase, which is create responsibly using real-time tools. So I'll just leave you with that.
I like that one, yeah.
There's absolutely no reason to consider render times. There is no such thing. Just create responsibly. Do your thing.
And I don't have a slogan or anything. I don't know what I'm going to say. Hold on, let me post these. Let me post these into the chat. New job platform is here. Put it there. Here's the downloads of projects. There they are. And don't worry if you miss any of this stuff. Like I said, we'll send out an email next week as well as a blog post. Just making sure you got all the links to not only the video recordings of previous sessions on Monday, Wednesday, and today, but also downloads to all the project files and all that good stuff. Armin, do we have one more? Do we have one more P-word prize? Do we have one more prize?
Yes, let's make it 3. 3 is always the winning number. Yes.
So,
Albers, I'll allow you to choose a person.
Damn, I was going to throw it to you.
Ball back to you.
Okay. How do we do this? Let's
Somebody's rolling.
Do this? How are we going to do this? Somebody's getting rickrolled, that's for sure. I think sticking to our original rule is a good one. I'm just going to scroll up to the last, like, really hot and spicy question we had.
Good point. Absolutely.
I think that was actually Diego-san had 2 really good questions. One of which was what are the main differences we should consider when learning Notch, and the 3D complementary skills, which we kind of like talked about for a little bit.
I agreed. He brought up something that was needed as a topic in this conversation, and I could go on another tangent talking about this again because we brought it up again. So
yeah,
agreed. The same thing. Either through Albers or me, just get in contact. Let's get your information and let's send you that learning dongle with a golden keychain.
So let's just recap really quickly the winners of those 3 golden keychains. We had Adrian who won, so please make sure you send us a message. We had Diego-san who won just recently is the last one, and who won at the beginning? Oh, it was VJ Dr. Mojo. Who do you remember?
Mojo.
It feels like it was so long ago, but it was only like an hour and a half ago, or like an hour and 45. Literally just came in the chat and said, "Bam!" Exclamation mark Alf.
I was blown away, man. Like we spent like good time thinking what would be the good term and what we can reference. How would that relate to the previous streams, and would actually be easy enough or sort of on the good threshold of understanding that this is the reference. Bam!
And we had all these plans to like drop hints like, hey guys, do you remember who our favorite like 80s like kid show characters were?
That we both liked and we actually used?
We didn't even get to say our pre-canned lines. He just bam came in and took it.
Yep.
Awesome.
Well done.
Well, congrats.
Well done.
So, for those 3 folks, please either email Armin, send me an email, send me a Twitch chat message. We'll make sure to get those to you. And for everyone else, thank you so much for joining us this week. It's been a really fun 3-day session. Not only do I want to thank Armin for being kind of my co-host, cohort, co-programmer, co-everything this week. I mean, we talked a lot this last few weeks, so that was a lot of fun for me.
Yeah, same. I was looking forward to doing something together. We planned this for a while. Like, we should do something together. We should do a stream.
I mean, it's been planning for a couple months now almost, and then we're like, you know what? Let's lock it in this date and let's make it happen.
Just roll with it.
And I also like to thank all of the Notch team. This wouldn't have been possible without the Notch team, especially the Notch team that's in the chat. Please give out some hearts for those folks who have been in there answering some of the harder technical questions, while me and Armin are kind of having just like a good old-fashioned
definitely
up here.
Have to mention that Ryan was prominent here and he actually helped me out with the, as I mentioned, logics in the rig. And Sarah, she's here answering things that I related on how do we do things like sending out shipments and how do we go for the subscription. So she was great at that. And I have to give a shout to Ellie. And Ellie will be a person who will make sure that the winners gets the prizes.
And we did have a quick question. I was answering it in the chat. Okay, yeah, and then so thank you to all the Notch team for that. That's been wonderful, and especially for these prizes that you guys have brought for the chat. That I think the gold keychains are awesome, and congrats to all the winners. Thanks to Derivative also for just being always supportive and all that good stuff. I'm trying to think. Oh, I'm not missing anybody, am I? Thank you to my friend Aristotle who gave me a little bit of support making these mini games.
Yeah, and actually, thank you. I recognize names now. I recognize handles. Some people stick with us from the very first one on
the very beginning. Yeah.
To now, this is great. Thank you so much.
So with that said, thanks everybody for joining us. It's been a pleasure. We will see you in the next one. If you aren't subscribed to our email, check out interactiveimmersive.io. You can I just put it in the YouTube only. Hold on a sec. Let me put it back in the Twitch also. Interactive. I can't type and talk at the same time. Sign up for our email so that you'll know when these events are coming up. You'll know all the free stuff you can get. You'll know all the good stuff. And with that said, thanks everybody for joining us. We will see you on the next one.
Thank you, guys. Looking forward to be back on this channel. It was great to be a guest here, especially when I didn't have to do much. Just sit there and see.
I'm bringing you back, bro. I'm bringing you back. I'm bringing you back. There's no way we're not bringing you back. That's all I'll say. Ciao, all.
See ya. Oh no, the hat came
silly
up.
hat?
Oh,
Okay.
no,
We're
doing
signing
that.
off.
We're doing
We
that.
got to sign off with the hat. So apparently, I read in the chat, it's not that the hat is silly. The fact that I wear it over my headphones just so blatantly without caring is the silly part.
I'm keeping the finger on a trigger, so I'll leave the honors for you to actually end this stream, Elbers.
Yeah. Okay. Let me hop over here. Okay. So with that said, thanks everybody. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you on the next one.
See you guys. Thank you.